everybody. Welcome to the Long Play Listening Party. This is Howie. We are picking up exactly where we left off last week with Eric from Ghostmind. So if you haven't listened to last week's episode, I recommend you go back, check that out, listen to the music, and we're just going to pick up right where we left off with a pretty free-ranging conversation about where Eric grew up, about hip-hop, about Kansas City and LA, and all kinds of different things. So hope you enjoy it.
Tell me a bit about your childhood. So what was it like? I mean, you had both of your parents in the house, or what was that like?
Yeah, so we grew up. So I was born in D.C., and then my dad was a journalist, and so he took us to the Ivory Coast, in Africa, in West Africa, and I was there in the Ivory Coast from 4 to 10, and so
what time period is that?
Early 90s, first 5 years. So I came to LA in 94.
Okay.
And so I grew up, so my childhood, well, I don't really remember much from DC. Most of my first memories are from the Ivory Coast. I remember just, Africa is such I haven't been there since, unfortunately. But from my memory, just remembering just the sense of community, just the deep soulfulness of the music, and of the people, it's I really need to go back there at some point, but as far as family, my dad loved music, and he played, a lot of my first influences music wise were through my dad. So,
and it's just you and your brother?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay. And are you the oldest or the youngest, or?
The oldest, yeah.
And how many years apart are you?
My brother is 4 years. 4 years.
And you were born in?
I was born in 85, yeah.
85?
Yeah.
Oh, man. Yeah. I'm an old dude. Okay. Yeah. That's what's up. And I always, I timestamp things by Eddie Murphy movies. So like 83 is my first,
I've only realized like recently how like hot he was in the 80s, man. He just dominated everything,
bro. Like Beverly Hills Cop. I was like, what? Like we can go to Beverly Hills and be cops. You know what I'm saying? Obviously it was all Hollywood, but you know what I mean? That's what's up. Okay, so I'm a 77 dude. I was born in 77.
Okay.
My dad was like a Vietnam vet.
Okay.
My mom was like a Southern Baptist. It was like a crazy fucking time. You know what I
mean? The Southern Baptist tradition, man.
Man. And my dad was like Catholic, which is weird, but that's what it was. We went to Catholic school when I was young.
Interesting. Catholic and Southern Baptist. That's an interesting
yeah. I don't know what they were thinking. You know what I mean? I thought that was gonna work, but
it's such a different tradition, man.
Oh, so different, so completely different.
Yeah.
Okay.
I can imagine, like, because I play a lot of church here in LA, in the Southern Baptist churches, and so man, like the difference between because I also play in different traditions in different churches, and it's so different. The Baptists in particular.
Man,
ways of worship. Yeah.
I was gonna say if you can play in the Southern Baptist church, then you can rock a concert. You know what I'm saying? Like,
exactly, man.
You don't have to worry about it. If you can make it there, you can make it anywhere.
Exactly, man. Because I mean, just to give you guys an idea, like it's like you just gotta be able to keep up, because it's so funny the way the musicians are set up. Like in the Baptist church, it's like you pretty much. the flow of the music is based on kind of like the kind of more of in the moment, kind of what is felt, what the pastor, what he's experiencing, and he can bring up any, you really don't have an idea what you're going to play, when you get to, at least the churches I've been to, I mean, you have a few different songs that so it's a lot of just listening and kind of knowing the changes and kind of being able. Whereas the I would say the more traditional, not traditional, like Presbyterian, like
right,
different traditions, like they'll say you'll play these few songs, maybe 5 or so songs, and it's more of a concert, and then you play the songs and then you leave, I mean not necessarily leave, but you'll it's more organized.
Right, you know exactly when you're supposed to come in and exactly. Go out. Yeah,
and it's like
that's not
at the Baptist church, like you're playing pretty much the whole time. And
I want to tell ya,
and it's just the spirit, it's more of like spirit led, like you just kind of you're just flowing with with whatever's going on, So it's
especially as like a bass player, that's got to be like you're actually kind of leading the drums or whatever in a Baptist church. You know what I'm saying? Like you're going to be the first movement if something happens to move into a new direction. So I know exactly what you mean. Yeah, absolutely. And then everything kind of like follows that. It's like, oh, that's where we're going out.
And you got to be ready, man.
Yeah.
You got to be ready to go. We're going to get left behind,
No doubt. Okay. That's what's up. Yeah. So it's not just happening in the Midwest. I got you.
No, it's definitely going down here heavy.
Okay.
Heavy, yeah. Oh man.
I think Baptists are Baptists worldwide to some extent,
I mean,
even in Russia.
Yeah.
Even in Russia.
Oh, that's funny.
No doubt. Okay.
Oh man.
And so, like your musical journey into, just into music. Like, how did that even happen? How did you start playing music? What's your education in music? How did that all happen?
So, I usually feel like it really happened with what my dad was playing. Like, kind of listening first. He was playing a lot of African music, a lot of like jazz stuff. You really like people like Pat Metheny. Soukous, West African Soukous music, Salif Keita, and you just listen to certain so that was my kind of how my ear kind of developed, and then I started playing bass in middle school. I don't know how I ended up in like music class actually, but I ended up in there somehow, and then they just handed me the bass because I was the tallest kid in the class, and so that's just how it started, man. Just
okay,
the bass just picked me, That's just honestly what happened, man. And then I started playing in bands, man, like really quickly, and it became more about collaboration, as far as like training, just playing in bands, playing with people,
Yeah,
and that's kind of how I kind of came up, was just playing in bands and really, really trying to always want to do original stuff, but also being happy to play, the classic, stuff as well too. Playing whatever I can, and just keeping my ears always open. So that was kind of like, I would say, had a little bit of training in the middle school. Played the upright bass, and then high school just band.
What? You play the upright bass?
I did, yeah.
God.
So I actually went to New Orleans when I was in, I think, middle school.
Get out of here, man. Like, just stop. Just stop.
So I ended up, and this is actually a funny story, because I saw Galactic when I was 14.
Man.
And, it was in New Orleans, in the
Yeah, right.
I am not worthy.
The
Tipitinas?
It was the jazz fest they had there.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so, 14 or whatever, I saw them play it. And it was a crazy experience because I was like, 13 or 14, like jazz fest, this is a crazy experience, And then just a few years ago, Afrolicious ended up opening for Galactic at this festival. Dude. And that was crazy, man. I gotta tell y'all, that was super, super
full circle,
cool, full circle. Seeing them play, and then Afrolicious, we opened for
Were you
them,
like, man, when I was 14, I saw you.
I didn't even get to talk to the bass player, but I did take a picture of his bass and the setup and everything.
That's what's up.
But they're so fun, man. They're so cool, man. So
that's crazy.
But
that's super crazy.
Yeah, that's that. Yeah, so that was kind of my education was just 2 years of classical music, and then just I played in a band in high school. We were called the Turkish Audio Society. The drummer came up with that name somehow, and we had it was bass, guitar, drums, and then I think we had a tabla player at some point, Indian tabla, and
in high school.
Player. Yeah, in high school. It was really weird. I mean, we were just weird kids, man. We were just the weirdest kids, man. We just listening to classical music and just, it's LA, man. Just this big ass high school, So, so that was
okay.
That's kind of.
And I should have embraced more of my weirdness in high school.
Well, when I was in high school, rapping was weird. So,
really?
What I mean?
Rapping was weird?
Yeah, if you were a rapper in high school, this was, I graduated in 95. So,
okay. Really?
You're talking about the classic era or whatever,
Oh, man, dude.
So everybody was like, you're like New York or, whatever, you're in the middle of Kansas.
You're East Coast.
Yeah. You know what I mean? Oh, look at him. He's got dreadlocks. He's weird,
He's weird. That's so weird. That's crazy, dude.
And now it's everybody raps and everybody's got dreadlocks.
Yeah. That's so crazy.
Yeah.
Because when I was in high school, hip hop was it was everything. I mean, it's even bigger now, but even in middle school, everybody had Post No Bills, like Fubu, it was it was all, even in LA, New York New York hip hop was everywhere, So
yeah, in Kansas City is always, I don't know, 5 or 6, maybe 10 years behind everybody else in music trends. And so when I was in high school, R. Kelly was the shit. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. R. Kelly, I was like, this dude's wife is 15, right? Nobody said anything about that, But that was kind of the deal. And if you rapped, it was just, you were just this obscure group of people. Yeah. We had the Jabos, we had the Fubu and shit, me and my little group of friends, but we wasn't getting no girls. You know what I'm saying? Wasn't nobody fucking with us. You guys are strange. And we were listening to Far Side. We were listening to Souls of Mischief. We were listening to Wu-Tang, all that kind of stuff. But that didn't really, and at the time, if you were, the only kind of hip hop you were listening to was Dre and Snoop Dogg and all that, which we were into, but that was the only kind of hip hop that was acceptable. At least in my school and in my experience, that was the only kind of thing that people were considering hip hop.
That's
and if
wild,
you weren't
man.
That, it was you're just weird.
Wow, that's so crazy, man. That's so different.
And when the South started kind of doing their thing, that shit happened 10 years after. Outkast was already on I'm Sorry Miss Jackson before people were really even willing to accept like hip hop in Kansas City. So
That's
it was a very
crazy.
unique experience, you know. And then me, you know, I went to LA and had that whole experience. You know, I was working with people from all over, and then came back to Kansas City. That was the first time that I realized like how far behind culturally we were musically, you know.
Wow. That's really interesting because like I remember, yeah, I mean by 2000 it was like, Outkast was already kind of like not fading, but they were like I mean,
like they were pop stars by that time.
yeah,
You know what I mean?
So
And like
for them not for people not to be into them, it's kind of
like that
super.
Southern Playalistic Cadillac
Yeah.
funky music record that they put out. Like,
Yeah.
no, they weren't playing that shit in clubs here. You know what I mean?
How about AT Aliens?
I don't think they ever played that AT Aliens record in
That's
Kansas
crazy.
City. I
That's
think the Southern Playalistic record happened in Kansas City around the time that the AT Aliens record was out.
Okay.
And so that got played in the clubs, and they just completely skipped over that. I
Wow.
don't really feel like Kansas City really gave a lot of pub to Outkast until they did the Speaker Box record.
Interesting. Really, that's wild. Because I remember Rosa Parks was like
everywhere
in LA. Yeah. Rosa
everywhere,
Parks.
right?
Yeah.
And honestly, man, we had this club called America's Pub, and it was like this melting pox for like mixed couples. You know, that's like where everybody went if they wanted to kind of like be in mixed relationships. That was the only club that would play like that Rosa Parks shit.
Yeah.
They played that shit there. But outside of that and that Bombs Over Baghdad. You know what I mean? Like they played that heavy over there. But not on the radio. You weren't hearing that on the radio.
That's crazy, man.
Yeah.
That's so interesting. That's so interesting, man. The different regional stuff, man. That's like,
yeah. And we're pretty much like once it is tried and it's successful in another community somewhere, Kansas City will pick it up. We're the Turner Broadcast Network, and that's the only time we get any kind of music is once it's, you know, if it's hot in Miami, if it's hot in New York, if it's hot in Atlanta, if it's hot in LA, they'll play it. But
what about what's his name? I can't believe I forgot his name. There's one guy, Kansas City, he's been around for so long.
Tech Nine?
Tech Nine, yeah. What about Tech Nine though?
So Tech Nine only gets played on the rock stations. Right? I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. Like, you're not hearing Tech Nine on. I mean, like KPRS will, which is like what they consider the urban station here.
Yeah,
they will talk about Tech Nine. Yeah. They will promote Tech Nine. You don't hear Tech Nine's music on that radio station ever.
Wow, that's crazy.
I will tell you though,
in Kansas City, man,
Tupac's like 1992 music is in heavy rotation currently.
That's
on
weird.
KPRS. Yeah, it's a weird community.
That's super strange, man.
Strange.
Because like Tech Nine, man, like I remember seeing Tech Nine in college, man. It was like, and then he kept going for like 10 years or something like that, man. He's man. Like, because he's like kind of like, it seems like he's one of those few hip hop acts that seems like they really kept grinding, you know, and kept like really making things happen for so long, you know. So
I think that's a lot of it. You know, he a lot of his shows would get, well, at least in Kansas City, would get headlined with like the Cottonmouth Kings and you know, like that kind of stuff, like kind of the more of the, I don't know, like grunge kind of like rock style music and stuff. Here locally, I would go see his shows. I mean, for a good at least decade, I would go see the Tech Nine shows. I mean, you'd never see another hip hop act on stage with him. If he didn't bring them, you'd never see another hip hop act on stage with him.
That's crazy, man.
Yeah. Which, you're talking about a dude who did songs with like Busta Rhymes. Like, who's more hip hop than that? You know what I'm saying? Like, Busta Rhymes has never done anything except for hip hop. Like, it's never been he's never had like a commercial record or anything like that. It's always been like he built his whole catalog off of that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And that's just, I mean, the community's different. You know what I'm saying? Like, we have, like, our big thing is like the Kaufman Center and stuff like that, which is, completely different genre of music. We have so many jazz legends who are still currently living in Kansas City.
Yeah.
I mean, they can't make a living off jazz here. You just can't. It's just not viable. I know people who play in bands, and the band members, each band member has 20 years of technical history or whatever behind them, and they're making like $500 for the whole band. You know what I mean? It's just a community. It's we like to feel like we have a music community, but man, even when I was in Arizona, people don't think about Arizona as being like a very forward place, but if you play gypsy music, there was a group of clubs that you could go to and you could earn a living. You know what I'm saying? And that kind of stuff. It's just different. It's the Midwest, man. It's just a different place. So yeah. I mean, Tech Nine has been like one of the world's largest independent hip hop artists, and it's just a hard place to grind here in Kansas City for that style of music.
So he had to really, because like when you listen to his music, like the image in my mind is like, dude, Kansas City is just like, when he comes through, it's like the whole city is like popping. Like Tech Nine is like,
man, it took him 20 years to get there. You know what I'm saying?
That's wild,
like his shows are always sold out for sure. Here in this city, but it would be difficult to say that for even other acts that are similar to what it is that he does. It's a grind. You know what I mean? But I mean, that's just the community. That's just the area. When I was in LA, man, I remember when I first showed up in LA and people were like, well, okay, well, what do you do? And I would be like, oh, I make beats and, I rap or whatever. And like, okay, you got to go here and you got to go do that. And, and like those places. And there was kind of like a thing for that. We're very spread out here in Kansas City. So like Lawrence is like a really good hub for music in Kansas City. And the Westport area is a really good hub for music, but very specific styles of music for each one. You know what I mean? Okay. So, some artists are able to play usually in multiple types of bands or groups or something like that and get that kind of love. But we just don't have a huge community for that kind of thing. It's not, and that's kind of Midwest, you could go to St. Louis, you could go to Chicago, you could go to Minneapolis or something like that. But that's how you would have to really tour. You couldn't, I felt like when I was in the LA area, like there were lots of places where I could go to that would support the same style of music. And then there's just so many more people. Right. Yeah, so I could go to and I'm just throwing shit out there because I don't really know LA, but like I could go to Oakland and then go to, Long Beach and it'd be a completely different group of people. Where here, if I go to Westport or go to Lawrence, there's going to be some kind of crossover. And there's only so many people here that you're going to be able to touch and connect. Unless you travel quite a bit. Yeah. So I think that's what, Tech probably experienced quite a bit. But, this dude toured globally. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think that, but I'm also curious to see like how technology also kind of impacted all of that too. Like if you, it would seem, because I've always been in LA, so I've seen the LA frame. But I think just in general, I think for artists, a lot of artists rely on the idea that I'm going to make it in LA and then I'm just going to get signed or whatever. But it's so treacherous. The scene here is so, you can fall through the cracks really easily. And it seems like the better almost to just rely on social media and technology wherever you are in the world, even if it happens to be in Kansas City or whatever, and then really get good at that. And then maybe come to LA later on or something like that. But, yeah.
It's to say now, especially particularly during like this past year, the live streaming and realizing that you can connect with people and, like not that it didn't happen before, but, I think there's going to be more of the, you can buy tickets to a show that you would never, for artists that you wouldn't have a chance to see or wouldn't come through your place. And it's cheaper, probably for a lot of artists, like, hey, okay, we're going to sell tickets and play a live stream from this place and people from wherever can tune in and watch us. And we don't have to, do this, 4 months, out on the road, trying to play for people. And, I think it'll be interesting to see how this goes from here in terms of connecting with the fans and where you actually, do you have to go and play all these places, or can you build a following from, being good at connecting with people through social media or something like that?
Yeah, and pre-pandemic and maybe like a decade prior, right? Like when I was out like doing shows, I would show up in places like Enid, Oklahoma, and they were happy to have live music. You know what I'm saying? There'd be 300-400 people there. You could do Kansas City, you could do St. Louis, you could do Chicago, you could do Minneapolis, you could just travel throughout the Midwest and really like build and make a name for yourself as an artist. So it will be interesting to see now that people are accustomed to getting their music through these, what I would consider like non-traditional ways of like the live streaming shows and that kind of stuff, what will happen? I think it has really shrunk what we consider the market for music. But man, I'm telling you, I did a show. I never even heard of Enid, Oklahoma. You know what I'm saying? And I rolled up, and the promoter came out. He paid us before we did the show. You know what I'm saying? And we did the show. The place was packed. Everybody loved it because they were getting music that they would never have ever heard before. You know what I'm saying? And,
interesting.
I do think the Midwest is really, really good for that. Like when you show up and we've never experienced it before or it's something brand new, like you get a lot of love. But you got to travel quite a distance to do that. Whereas I feel like in LA, you don't have to go as far because there's so many people, to get a new audience. And I don't know what difference that might make or whatever, but that's kind of how it is.
The thing, though, is on that very point right there. It's like when you go to the Midwest, it's like people are wanting to have the experience. They're and they're hungry for it. Whereas I think in LA, it's like being in bands. Like there's a sense that like there's so many competition for someone's time any given time. Any given night, they could do 100 different things. They could just hang out with their friends, go to the latest pizza spot, new pizzeria, or not even music. There's so many things that people can do. So it's like, you may be able to reach a lot of people, but
how interested are they?
How interested and how prepared are they?
And they're like, oh yeah, it's just another band. Like unless you're super into the the type of scene or you know of the band and you really want to check them out, but maybe it's probably just like it's just another band. Like I can see a band tomorrow night or something.
Exactly, dude. You know, and there's so many bands out here. You know, and it's such like and there's so many, I think, unfortunately, so many bands that don't really take playing music very seriously. So I think people are kind of like, when someone says, "Oh, my band's playing," it's like, well, are you guys really going to bring it, or is it going to be like some kind of, whatever, you know? So
yeah, that's crazy to hear that that's even happening in like L.A. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh man, I mean, I played so many where it's like, the classic L.A. show is like, man, I had this one friend of mine come. It was so frustrating to see this happening. He was from like Colorado, and he was like, "Oh man, I want to come to LA and play." And so he came, and he hired me to play with him. And the promoter that basically, that had him come over, she told him, "Oh, you're going to play at this showcase, and it's going to be LA, and there's going to be all these people there and everything like that." So but he gets here, he drives all the way, brings a drummer, pays for all the gas to get here. And then he gets to the showcase, and they basically just put on a bunch of random, whoever they're able to sell this idea of LA to. And they, it was like 6 or 7 different bands. Only people in the audience were the bands, the bands themselves, So, and then,
shit.
you know what I'm saying? So it was complete, and then everyone had to pay the like promoter. So it was a complete scam, man. And it's like, and that's LA. That's more of what LA actually is when it comes to the music scene. It's like all these different scams, all these different people. I mean, I've had people sign to stuff, and people blow up their heads, and then they don't do anything. So so that's the negative side of LA. But the good side, the good side, if you're able to find it, is to interact with people, talented people who take themselves seriously in different types of fields like music of course music, but also like photography and film, sort of that, But
right.
You just have to the special sauce of LA is getting through all the like non-serious type of stuff and getting towards the real, meeting those great collaborators and meeting those people who actually take themselves seriously, first of all, but then take you seriously.
Eliminating distractions and
you got to eliminate a lot of people, and that's why I tell people who come here first thing off, like when you come here, like you need to make sure you're probably going to meet people who are going to tell you all types of stuff, like, oh yeah, I know Flea, and I know. The A&R person in Sony or something like that, and they're going to try to like blow up your head and make you think that, oh, you're right there, But if you have a strong internal sense of your own artistry, first and foremost, and you come in with something to bring, then that's where, I tell people having that, knowing your own self and your own kind of person, what you want to do, and just don't let someone tell you what to do. Just do what you want to do. Because people are going to tell you all types of things, man. Like when you come here, they're going to say like, oh, you need to, people are going to try to take who you are and they're going to try to shape you, Like I've heard crazy, like just really interesting stories about, I mean, even like someone as big as Tyler Perry, when he first came to LA and like, he already was a product, and he had to deal with all types of stuff here in LA. So it's like, if that happens to him, then believe me, like,
right.
Where it doesn't matter how good you are, how talented, who you are. Like if, people are, there's a lot of mind games. So,
that kind of brings us full circle. Yeah. I mean, to Ghostmind, because that's really. You have, Eric, I think, that strong sense of your own artistry, what your art is worth, and that vision for what you're trying to do. So that kind of sums it up.
Yeah. That's I think seeing, and I think one interesting thing that from listening to your guys' podcasts and also looking at your guys' websites, like it just seems, and also knowing David, it was like just a sense of like really inspiring to see musicians like who just want to make good music,
Yeah.
And, I'd be curious to hear more about, maybe at some later point, like, Furious Records and like how that came to be and what you guys are up to, and just seeing, just seeing people like just making good music and putting it out there, and that being as opposed to, trying to, become a star or whatever, or trying to,
yeah, man, that authenticity.
Authenticity, that's the word right there, That is it,
Oh
So,
man, like I think at any point, I think hopefully this will be an ongoing relationship with you and your music, and even as if you want to come on and rap with somebody else, like.
Yeah. Oh, that'd be so fun, man. I can only imagine, man. I can only imagine that.
Yeah.
We'll do it for sure. Well, Eric, remind people where they can find your music, where they can stream it, where they can buy it, and how to connect with you on social media.
Cool. So, if anyone wants to hear more about Ghostmind, then I have my last record came out last year called Trill, and that's out everywhere. Spotify, Apple Music, everywhere, pretty much everywhere online. And if you can, while you're there, be sure to follow Ghostmind, and because I have a new record coming out. We played most of the songs from it. I may add maybe one extra song. I'm not sure. Maybe like a bonus track or something like that. But that's going to be called Dark Blonde Light Brown, and that's coming out pretty soon. And that'll be in the same spots under the same accounts. And also, hit me up on Instagram, Ghost M Style, at Ghost M Style, and I'm also on Facebook, and also on TikTok too. TikTok, I think, Ghostmind is here is my tagline on TikTok. So,
Nice.
and I like to, yeah, TikTok.
I'm here.
Yeah, Ghostmind is here, and I like to post, little videos, and I plan to very much try to release more visual content as well too. So that's out there as well too. So.
And when is the album dropping?
I'm still figuring that out, but it's going to be coming out. I should be making an announcement pretty soon. But I plan to release some singles pretty soon. So I'm going to try to put it out and kind of give people a taste and kind of build, let people experience each song kind of its own on its own, and then release the full thing. Hopefully, make some CDs and some vinyl as well too.
There you go. Yes, give me some vinyl.
Yeah, that's what I want. Yeah. That's what I want. Sign me up.
We're gonna have to have you back, because I definitely meant to ask you about your description on your Bandcamp, and that's a whole other thing we could get into. Just
right. Like the whole,
I completely dropped the ball on that. I meant to get into that earlier, but we're gonna have to have you too.
I can't I can't wait to do that, man. I mean, I have a music video out on YouTube actually that kind of tells a little bit of the story.
Okay, we'll have to link to that too in the show notes.
Exactly. It's the song is "Fear Lonesome Hearts" from Trill, and it's directed by the Steiner brothers, and so two really amazing video guys, and so they make amazing stuff. So we worked on something and we released something last year. So, and that kind of tells a little bit of that kind of larger story. So
right on. Check it out.
Yeah, and last but not least, ghostmind.bandcamp.com, of course, you can pick up a lot of what you heard in the early part of the show, and follow Eric on there to get the notification when the singles and the album come out. So, yeah, this was fantastic. You'll definitely be hearing more from Eric on the Long Play channels, but this has been the Long Play Listening Party. Thanks, Eric.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
We'll see everybody later.
Thank you guys for having me. Peace. Peace.